Hello YouTubers, and in this Kivy video we are going to learn how you can create a slider in Kivy. So the slider widget looks like a scroll bar, and Kivy supports horizontal and also vertical orientation of sliders. So now there are two ways that you can create, and we are going to I'm going to show you the process for the both way. So now first we need to import this, so from kivy.uix.slider import slider, and you can just simply create the slider object, and for example you can say slider and a slider. You can just return the slider, and if I run this, you can see that now I have a nice slider in here. So now let's just extend this, and we are going to just also we are going to talk about the binding of callbacks in a slider. For this I'm going to let me just copy this. I have created a new Python file, and I'm going to remove this because I will add the source code. By this reason I'm going to just make a new file in here. So in here I'm going to just create a class. I call it for example my layout, and it extends from, let me import from kivy.uix.gridLayout, import grid layout, and it extends from the grid layout. So this is my init method, and this is my super. Okay, now after this, the first thing we need to specify the columns for the grid layout. I want it should be 2, and now I'm going to just create my slider in here. So I'm going to just say slider, and you can set the mean for the slider. I'm going to just set the mean to 0 and the max to 100. So after this we need to add this widget to this grid layout. So you can, because we're extending from the grid layout, now you can access to that widget using the self. So you can just say self.add_widget, and we are going to add the slider. So because we are going to also use the callbacks for this, so we need to just create a label in here. So first let me just import from kivy.uix.label, import label. So self.label and label. So for the text I'm going to just give it 0, and now I need to add this. So self.add_widget, I want to add my label. So now let me just check this, and in here I need to return my layout. So return my layout, and if I run this, okay, so now you can see that we have our this slider, and also we have our this text to 0. Now how you can bind a callback to this, for example, or a method. If a user so let me just show you. When we do like this, we need to change the value of this text. So for this we are going to just create a new method in here, and I'm going to just call it diff on value change. And you need to give the self, and also we need to give the instance of the our slider. Also you need to give the value. Now we are going to just say self.label.text. We are going to change the text of the label to for example you can say value is dot format, and we are going to just convert our value to integer, and we are going to print the value. Now in your slider you can just simply bind this. So self.slider.bind, and so you can simply say the value to self.on change value, and let me just run this. So if you can see that the value is changing values. So this was using the class. Now let's create the same functionality using our Kivy file. Okay, so I've created a new Python file, and now in here I'm going to just create a class. I call it my layout, and let me just import from Kivy.uix.grid layout. I'm going to import grid layout. Now this class extends from the grid layout, and I don't need to add anything in here. So let me just say pause, and in here I'm going to just return my layout class. So I have already created a Kivy file at name of slider window.kivy, so make sure that this should be the same as your app class. And now we need to define rules for this my layout. So first we need to just add the version of Kivy, so Kivy 1.10.0, and so in here the first thing we need to give the columns, so I'm going to just give it 2, and now we can say slider. You can give the main value to 0, and also you can give the max value to 100. So now if you run this, let me just run this, that I'm receiving any slider or not. Okay, so now I have received slider. Now we are going to add a label also. So let me open this. Okay, so in here let me just create a label, and for the ID I'm going to give it label, and for the text I want to give it 0. So now if I run this, you will see that I have also a label, but we don't have any functionality for this. You can simply easily bind this in your Kivy file. So where you have your slider, because we have an ID for the label, so you can just say on value, and we want to change the text of the label to you need to convert this to string, and or we don't need to do this. We just say self.value, and let me just run this. And if I change this, okay, only accept str, so we need to convert this to str. We need to add this. Okay, now if I change this, you can see, but we are not receiving the integer, but it is I think float. So you can just convert this to int now. So you can say int, typecast this to int, and now if I run this, you can see that now the value is changing. So like this you can work with a slider in Kivy.